Imagine you owe your neighbor $500. You don't hand him cash, you don't swipe a card, you just point at a giant boulder sitting outside your house and say, "That's yours now." Your neighbor says, "Cool, thanks." He doesn't move the rock. You don't move the rock. Nobody moves the rock. But everyone on the island agrees that boulder now belongs to him. This is not a joke. This is not a fantasy. This is how a real island ran its entire economy for over 500 years. And it worked flawlessly for centuries. No receipts, no banks, no middlemen. Just rocks and trust. Welcome to Yap. Yap is a tiny cluster of islands in the Western Pacific, part of what's now the Federated States of Micronesia. You've probably never heard of it. Almost nobody has. But what happened here is one of the most quietly brilliant stories in all of human economic history. And it starts with a question we've never really answered properly. What even is money? We've used shells, gold, paper, digital numbers in a computer. Every civilization invents something and says, "This is money now." And somehow everyone just agrees. Yap's version of that story is the most extreme, most beautiful, most mind-bending one we know of. Yap Island sits roughly 300 miles east of Palau, smaller than Manhattan. A few islands, a few reefs, a few thousand people. No gold, no silver, no oil. For most of human history, Yap had absolutely nothing the outside world would call valuable. And yet, the Yapese built one of the most sophisticated monetary systems ever created by any human civilization. Not by accident, by genius. Their wealth wasn't measured in gold or land. It was measured in stone. Enormous, immovable, circular limestone discs with a hole through the middle. The bigger the stone, the more powerful the person who owned it. But first, we need to go back to the beginning, to one man, one canoe, and one long paddle across open ocean. About 500 years ago, a Yapese navigator named Anagumang set out on a voyage. Nobody knows exactly what he was looking for. Maybe trade goods, maybe adventure. Maybe he just needed to know what was out there. He paddled 300 miles across open ocean on a bamboo canoe. No engine, no GPS, no guarantee of return. Just stars overhead and waves beneath him. Until he reached the island of Palau and saw something his home island had absolutely none of. Limestone. Huge, brilliant, white, gleaming in the sun. To a Yapese man, this was extraordinary. He had never seen anything remotely like it. So he carved a piece off, shaped it, worked it with shell tools until it became something that looked almost deliberate. Then he loaded it onto his raft, which immediately sat much, much lower in the water, and paddled home. 300 miles, back the way he came. When he arrived, everyone was obsessed. The color, the weight, the shape, the fact that it came from somewhere far, dangerous, and unknown. And that's when something very human happened. Scarcity plus desire plus shared belief equals only one thing: money. The Yapese called them rye stones. Circular limestone discs, shaped like full moons, with a hole carved through the center. When you used one to pay someone, the stone didn't move. The buyer pointed at it, the seller nodded, and the entire community updated their collective memory. That stone now belongs to someone else. No paperwork, no bank, just people who knew, who told the whole island. The community was the bank. The shared memory was the ledger. This is, and I cannot stress this enough, exactly how blockchain technology works today. No central authority, a shared ledger maintained by the whole network. The difference is that Yap did it 500 years before anyone invented a computer. Now, to understand why this system eventually cracked, we need to understand where the stones came from. Because every rhinestone began the same way. A dangerous, possibly fatal voyage across 300 miles of open Pacific. One day, a crew was transporting a massive stone back from Palau. They hit a violent storm. Waves like walls, wind that turned their bamboo raft into a toy. The stone sank to the bottom of the ocean, just gone. The crew barely survived, paddled home, empty-handed, exhausted. Just 3 wet men and a story nobody was going to want to hear. When they arrived, the whole island gathered. The elders listened, the community debated. And they asked the most important economic question in the history of Yap. Does the stone still exist? Still valid. The community decided, unanimously, that the stone's existence at the bottom of the ocean did not change its value. Because everyone knew it was there. Everyone agreed it had been made, transported, and lost honorably. And therefore, it counted. Now think about this. When you look at your bank account, where is that money exactly? Is it in a vault somewhere? It's a number that exists because a bank agreed it exists. A number that has value because you and 3 billion other people agree it has value. Exactly like a rhinestone at the bottom of the ocean. The only thing that makes any currency work, dollars, gold, crypto, or limestone, is collective belief. Yap understood this 500 years ago. And the stones themselves? Their value wasn't about size alone. It was about suffering. A stone paddled 300 miles through storm season was worth more than a stone that arrived easily. Risk built itself into the price. You couldn't lie about it. The ocean was the proof. Proof of work. Bitcoin uses the exact same principle. The more effort it takes to mine a coin, the more trusted it becomes. The Yapese were doing this with limestone and canoes 500 years ago. And then, in the 1870s, a ship appeared on the horizon. David O'Keefe, Irish-American adventurer, shipwreck survivor who washed up on Yap and looked at a 500-year-old sacred monetary tradition and saw a business opportunity. He made a deal with the chiefs. He'd use his steamship to import limestone from Palau in huge quantities. The Yapese would pay him in coconut and sea cucumber, which sold for enormous profit in Asian markets. Both sides thought they were winning. Only one of them was right. The ships started arriving, boat after boat, stone after stone. The old stones, hand-carved, ocean-weathered, still had full prestige. The O'Keefe stones, machine-shipped, mass-produced, nobody wanted them for anything serious. Same limestone, completely different respect. More stones in circulation, same amount of goods to buy. More supply, same demand. Inflation. The same force that destroyed the Roman denarius and the Weimar German mark hit Yap, via steamship. What O'Keefe stole wasn't their stones. He'd stolen the scarcity. The scarcity that took months and lives and risk to create. He outsourced the effort, removed the proof of work, and quietly drained the meaning from the whole system. Then came the Germans. They formally annexed Yap in the 1890s and needed roads built. The chiefs refused. So the German officials walked around the island, and on the most important rhinestones, they painted large black crosses. These stones now belong to the German government. They didn't move them, they didn't touch them, they just painted a symbol. The Yapese were devastated. The stones were still there, unmoved, unchanged, but the ownership had been seized. Their wealth, without anyone touching a single rock, had been declared forfeit. Within weeks, the roads were built. When the roads were finished, the Germans went back and painted white over every cross. Wealth restored, just like that. In one story, one tiny island, one 500-year history, we can see every piece of the modern financial system. Trust, shared ledger, inflation, government seizure, and restoration. Here is the lesson. Money is not real. Not in the way we think. It has no intrinsic value. It is a technology, a shared fiction, a collective story we tell each other about what things are worth. Gold is just shiny. Paper is just wood pulp. Bitcoin is just math. Rye stones are just limestone. But when a community looks at one of those things and says, "This matters, we all agree," it becomes money. The object doesn't change, the collective belief does. That's the whole secret, and Yap figured it out 500 years before the Federal Reserve existed. Today, Yap still stands. The rye stones still stand with it. They're used in ceremonies, weddings, chieftain inaugurations, the big social moments where something needs to be said. And on every license plate on the island of Yap, there is a silhouette of a rye stone. Because that stone is what Yap is, their identity, their ingenuity, their 5-century legacy. And the sunken stone, the one lost at the bottom of the ocean centuries ago, is technically still owned by a Yapese family today. No one has seen it, no one can photograph it, but everyone agrees it does. An asset no one can touch that is very, very real. So the next time someone tells you crypto is crazy, remember this. A Yapese man said trust the ledger 500 years before Satoshi Nakamoto was born. And it worked. Somewhere off the coast of Palau, in water too deep to see, a 4-ton disk of limestone sits on the ocean floor. It belongs to a family on an island 300 miles away. Nobody questions this. Because the value was never in the stone. It was in the agreement, the shared story, the trust that passed from one generation to the next, never requiring the stone to move. Money is just a story we all agree to tell. If you liked this one, subscribe. We have more of them. The boulder never moved, and neither did the trust.